My name is MCCREARY. I am the composer for The Walking Dead. I had originally heard of The Walking Dead because I was a fan of the comics. Showrunner Frank Darabont called me pretty early in the process, and we got together and talked about the comics and talked about what the themes could be, and after I met with him, I was the composer of the show. In the early discussions, we're talking a lot about how to keep the idea of a horror show fresh. How do you scare people, especially sophisticated audiences in 2010? The idea was, maybe we could unsettle a modern audience. We were really trying to avoid the things that I think the horror genre had fallen back upon. And that was our philosophy for season 1. Bring the volume down, pull music out, only use music where you absolutely have to. There's a jolt of electricity when we were watching the scene and we realized, there, that's where we needed music. And finding those scenes where the music doesn't need to exist, that's always magic. I always feel like half my job is taking music out of The Walking Dead. The advantage to that is when music comes in, it's so much more powerful. It's so much more effective when you haven't heard it. So with the idea in place to do a minimal kind of classic horror thriller score, we then started talking about the actual instruments to use. The Walking Dead takes place in the American South, in Georgia, and there's such great music there. What if we make a zombie version of bluegrass music? The Walking Dead version. Hey, what would it sound like if a zombie played banjo? I ran a banjo through electronic and analog processing. I hear this dead, decaying, detuned, mangled banjo, and I go, that's The Walking Dead. Pretty much anytime there's a walker on screen, you're hearing a banjo. I doubt fans have any clue that's what it is, because it's been distorted beyond recognition, but that was the starting point. So typically when I start a new show, the first thing I'm always thinking about is, what's the theme song going to sound like? And I spend a lot of time working on that, and once I have that piece, it becomes the seed from which the score can grow. I probably worked on it for a week, and for whatever reason, it was not clicking. I was like, you know what? I don't know what the theme is. I'm going to have to move on. So I started scoring the episode, and the first cue that I wrote was Rick waking up from his coma, coming out of the hospital, seeing all the bodies everywhere. That was easy. I mean, I just was like, oh, I know exactly what that should feel like. So toward the end, I get to this cue. Rick is crawling under a tank. He's being pursued by walkers. It's a 30-second sequence that essentially gets him from point A to point B inside the tank. It's the closest thing to an action scene that exists in the first episode of The Walking Dead. So I pulled up a string sound, and I'm just looking at the scene, and I went... And suddenly I get chills. So I start playing around a little more. And I think I just wrote the theme to The Walking Dead. And so I sketch it quickly. I mean, this thing that I've been working on for a week, I sketched in an hour. And that's all it was. There wasn't anything else to it. And there was something hypnotic about it. There was something both frantic and panicked and beautiful. Never did I think that this would become a signature tune for a drama that would span over a decade. To be honest, we were just looking at the first season, right? Like, 6 episodes. Oh man, how do we stay scary and fresh for 6 episodes? You know, and now it's like 106 episodes later. We're still discovering ways to do that.